Our next guest is an award-winning actor, comedian, and writer. You know from his work in The After Party, Fleabag, and his fantastic series Stath Lets Flats. He stars in The Moment, which is in select theaters this weekend and everywhere February 6th. Let's take a look.
It's a credit card and savings account aimed at young queer people, so like your fans.
And when they sign up, they get a free ticket to your tour. It's just a way of bringing in a younger market. I actually think it's quite cool. The card Brat Green, and I want to get one myself. I won't, but I would if I was, you know. But I'm an ally, so.
How do you know they're gay?
How do I know?
What do you mean?
Well, like, the people getting the card, do they have to prove that they're gay? I think that feels insane.
I think it's just more of like a demographic thing.
Yeah, and like you can tell.
Please welcome back to the show, Jamie Demetriou, everybody. How have you been?
A lot's changed.
A lot's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm in this new movie, The Moment, which you just saw a clip from. Brilliant. Starring the icon, Charlie XCX, directed by visionary Aidan Zamiri. And I'm having to do press beside them, and they're objectively a lot cooler than me. They have an edge. So I made the kind of rash decision at New Year's of making my resolution no more Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh.
So I have just been being awful. I've been a horror to be around.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you like it?
Well, I mean, it's new.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I honestly, you don't know me very well. I used to be so lovely.
So nice.
I was a delight, famously.
I love to tell people he's even nicer than you would guess.
Right, which gives people a headache because they already picture me as being electric. But yeah, I used to go from door to door in London just saying, "You okay?" to people. That was my thing. And now I'm just ruffling people's hair. And I told a guy on the subway I didn't like his bag. And I did, which is the
God! So you're really working against your instincts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even Charlie and Aidan and everyone in the movie are like, "We don't need this. This is awful."
Yeah.
But I'm trying it out.
Yeah.
Look, I've done this show before. Technically.
Technically on Zoom.
Yes.
And how was it? I mean, it was funny. The last time Dennis was here on Zoom, what was it like doing a Zoom talk show as a guest?
Well, I feel like I've confidently. I can't believe I'm about to tell this story. So I did it on Zoom. I was in lockdown in my Airbnb in LA because I was shooting the after party. Christmas
fantastic
for the Lord's brilliant show. I was quite excited. It was my first US talk show. I was shouting things like, "I've made it." And stuff like that in the day beforehand. And the nerves kind of got to my stomach somewhat, as they do. I had my prep call beforehand. I had my laptop on the kitchen bar, a little stool set up to do my interview. I was ready to go. And they said, "Okay, so you're going to be the third guest on. So you're just welcome to sit and watch the show on your laptop. Christina Aguilera is going to be on." I'm like, "Oh my God." So they left me to it, but I didn't mention that I needed to use the restroom, and I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. I won't go into too much detail, but let's just say I don't do number ones. So by process of elimination, I never have.
You never
I
have.
won't. I refuse to.
Yeah.
So I go to the restroom. I'm in there going through my process.
Yeah.
And I hear from the speaker on my laptop, which is about 15 steps away, "Jamie Demetriou!" And I'm like, wait, they must have switched the order. I was like, well, I can't burn a bridge with Seth.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to ruin my first opportunity on a talk show. So I, without thinking, mid-flow, stood up and made a plan on the way to the laptop, which was that I was going to stand for the interview with my underwear around my ankles and my jeans around my ankles And I wouldn't sit down on the stool because I didn't want to sully the stool.
Yeah.
So I arrived back, and it turned out you were just announcing who the people on the show were going to be.
Kind of like right at the beginning of the show, I'm like, we got a great show tonight. And so you heard your name there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At which point I obviously looked down and thought, what the hell was I going to do?
I know you were alone, but it still must have been a very awkward walk back to the bathroom as you sort of shuffle steps.
Yeah, I definitely had a cracked smile. But then when I returned for the actual interview, like, it was like the awkwardness had created some, like, electro fault in my laptop because something glitched on Zoom and I couldn't see you. I could just see, like, 12 of me.
Yeah. We have a still from it because this was your eye line the entirety of our Zoom, is you were like... It was like you were like big timing me, like, I'm not here to make eye contact.
Well, little did you know, it was because I didn't like looking at a myriad of me while remembering that just minutes ago I was about to do the interview with a very, very nude, dirty body.
This is a fantastic film. This is a mockumentary where you play Charlie's manager of sorts.
Absolutely, yes. I play Tim, Charlie's manager. The film is a kind of super naturalistic mock doc of sorts. Which I was so excited to be part of. I'm such a huge fan of Charlie. I really feel like she kind of represents the kind of rare middle bit of the Venn diagram between huge and actually really good and cool.
Yeah, very funny, very down to earth when you talk to her.
Yes,
like, I'm
so
always
lovely.
delighted to see her. When she approached you about the role, like, did she have an idea in mind of how she wanted you to play it?
Yes, there was, because it's her life, a lot of it is kind of, well, a kind of version of, she knows those people, she's had managers, she has managers, and they spoke about how my dress sense would be kind of off compared to theirs because, they all kind of live in he's just kind of behind trying to catch up with the acts that he represents. And then when I got to set, day by day, we'd turn up to film, the costume department would often come into my trailer and say, oh, what you're wearing is perfect. I would just wear my own clothes. So they must have changed their minds about the cool thing being behind.
You have been in some very cool films. I want to ask you, one of the biggest ones in recent year, you were in Barbie.
Yes, I played Barbie.
One of the execs in the scene with Will Ferrell. A lot of guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, you've got the photo.
And how was your experience working on Barbie?
Amazing. There was such a kind of, from Greta Gerwig, there was such a kind of drip-down effect of love and kind of community on set. It was lovely, which I really tried to carry forth one day. In that particular scene around the boardroom table, there were a lot of dancers on set all the time. A lot of the kind of Kens and Mattel execs like myself were made up of incredible dancers, but we hadn't really crossed paths that much. And then on the day of the Mattel thing, the big boardroom table, I was aware that we were all going to be sitting together for about 3 days. So I was like, I want to break the ice quick so it doesn't become sort of like huddles. And I do a lot of sort of conversation prep as a person to avoid feeling anxious. I'd sort of not done the right amount of prep. And I'm like, I know on my right it's going to be Will Ferrell and on my left is going to be a new friend. And I want to kind of bridge the gap so that we're riffing and vibing together. And on my way to sit in the chair, I hear everyone's talking about how they had the prawns for lunch.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, you had the prawns? I didn't have the prawns. You had the prawns? Prawns? Oh my God, you had the prawns as well? Prawns? And then the guy sat next to me, I'm like, prawns? And he goes, yeah. How did you know? And I was like, oh, I have just three lunch options. Everyone seems to have the prawns. I thought you would have just, yeah. And he was like, what are you saying about lunch? It's like, what do you mean? What did you have for lunch? And he's like, a beef curry. Why are you talking about lunch? I was like, because that's my chosen conversation topic. Why? Wait, sorry. So you had the beef massaman. So why, when I said prawns, did you respond with, yeah, how did you know? And he went, because my nickname's Prawns. And it's like, and he was like, no one's called me that since like back home. And I like jumped to my feet for having sort of discovered the best anecdote in history.
Did you say, like, if your nickname's Prawns, why did you have the beef?
Is that how it works?
You were also in one of my favorite movies of all time. You were in Paddington 2.
I was indeed.
And I love Paddington 2 a great deal. And I wrote you and I said, hey, my kids are watching Paddington 2. And I had forgotten you were in it because the first time I saw Paddington 2, we weren't friends and I kind of hadn't watched Stath yet. And then you shared 2 details about the scene in the prison in Paddington 2.
I mean, you can share them if you want.
One was that the marmalade sandwiches were actually good.
Truly, like, they were way nicer than they needed to be. I was like, yeah, incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then also, all anybody did under the table was fart.
Hours. It was like someone had given them a direction that I hadn't heard, which was like, and by the way, when you're down there, make sure you just get it all out.
By the way, both details, my kids were like, each one of these stories is better than the next. Lastly, just because I feel like it will never go out of style, Stath Lets Flats is one of the funniest shows. And
Very much. Thank you.
For anybody who hasn't started it, it's just great. But one of the things you're so good at is falling down. You play a very clumsy sort of realtor, a lot of falls. I imagine based on watching them, they look improvised, but you put a lot of thought into them.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of thought. But I just have a very dense midriff as a guy. I'm a very wobbly boy with a kind of round middle, which kind of doesn't really help with balance. So I've just been someone who falls over forever. And I just thought I might as well. Like, I actually fell through the stairs in my house on my 16th birthday. Just things that were kind of guiding me towards sitcom land. Yeah.
We did put together a supercut of some of my favorite falls.
Oh, wow.
If anybody needs to be sold on Stath, hopefully this will get you over the line.
What are you doing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, fine.
I need to go to the toilet. Will you marry me?
Oh, that was my chin on it.
Jamie Demetriou, everybody, in the
Thank you.
moment. This is Select Theaters this weekend and everywhere February 6th. We'll be right back.